Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings from diaspora remittances may suffer a major blow following the passage of a new bill in the United States that seeks to impose a 3.5% tax on money transfers sent by non-citizens to recipients abroad. The provision contained in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, a sweeping legislative package by U.S. President Donald Trump and recently passed by the U.S. House of Representatives, if enacted into law, the remittance tax will apply to all international money transfers made by individuals who are not U.S. citizens, including green card holders and temporary visa recipients. The tax is expected to be deducted at the point of transaction by banks and remittance platforms and remitted to the U.S. Treasury on a quarterly basis, with Nigeria ranked among the top 10 countries most exposed to this proposed tax, which could cost the economy up to $250 million annually. Now, the stakes are high. Today on Business Express, we'll be looking at the potential consequences for Nigerian families, businesses, and the economy at large, as well as steps to mitigate this looming challenge. Now, joining me is an economist, Mr. Chris Kaka. You're welcome to Business Express.
My pleasure being here.
Okay, Mr. Chris, what do you make, or Mr. Kaka, what do you make of this particular development?
Well, thank you very much for having me again. I think it's one that is going to deal a serious blow on the Nigerian economy for several reasons. While we agree that it's a tax that is actually levied on individuals, not businesses, I think that must be made clear. If you realize that the Nigerian Central Bank at the moment now is actually focusing on trying to mobilize resources from diaspora remittances to actually finance our developmental needs. You will recall in 2017, for the first time, Nigerian government was able to mobilize $300 million from diaspora bond, and is also planning to do that this year. So rather than borrowing from creditor nations at a very high interest rate, Nigerian government, through the central bank, feel this is a more less expensive means of actually generating funds for promoting infrastructure development in Nigeria. And once you do that, you are likely to discourage people from actually sending money home. Beyond the impact on government in terms of generating resources, it's also going to affect our forex balance sheet, because those diaspora remittances are what is actually, once they follow through the official means, they are part of what is accounted for in our foreign reserve. And so once you do this now, you are not only discouraging Nigerians in diaspora from remitting money home, but you're also telling them that even if they want to, they might begin to look for informal routes to begin to send the money that does not show in the balance sheet of
I'm afraid
the
to say this,
bank.
but the money is in billions. Billions. We are talking about 20 billion naira remitted through remittances.
That's correct. In fact,
I think 214, isn't it just a little chunk of that money?
Yeah, it will appear
Should it affect Nigeria in any way?
It will appear so. You must understand that the person who is actually sending that money has actually paid his income tax. He has also is going to pay a level to the money transfer operators. There are other fees that he has to pay in cost of transmitting that money. So technically, if you're about to send about, say, for every $100 now, maybe you might be losing at the end of the day maybe $10 from it before you then remit it home. So that particular $10 itself could do something. So multiply by quantums of money you want to send home, it's really going to affect a lot of people. Particularly when you realize that diaspora remittances is what most Nigerians are actually, those who send money home is actually to help people with their health care, help them with education, help with basic needs at home. And once you pull that away, you are not only going to be creating a challenge for the family, but you're also undermining the capacity of Nigeria and other affected countries to be able to meet the Sustainable Development Goals 1, 2, and a couple of other ones of the 17 goals that is due to be attained by 2030.
Now, given that remittances strengthen Nigeria's foreign reserves, might this tax worsen existing pressures on Naira, especially with foreign reserves already down by $2.34 billion in early 2025.
I think that statement is very true. Like I said, once you stop these remittances, because what happens at the moment is the central bank has also said that it is hoping to generate at least minimum of $1 billion every month, because currently what we have is almost averaging a little bit less than 1 billion every month if you divide it by 12 months. And that's what it's looking at. And it's looking at that to be able to see how you can use that pool of resources to actually finance development. The central bank has gone as far as actually providing some frameworks for people in diaspora to be able to send money home, save them in an account that they can access anytime, perhaps for savings or for investment in whatever it is. It has also gone that far as actually creating non-resident Nigerians BVN for them. So you could be overseas and you could do your BVN in Nigeria, which means you can maintain an account here and you can run it, access it at any time. All is with a view to also encourage diaspora remittances, for which the government can leverage on in actually financing our infrastructure deficit, which we have in the country. And so once you do this particular tax, appears like 3.5, a small amount, I could tell you that it is going to affect the stability of our forex, and it will also affect the value of our naira, which we have at the moment, because there will be so much pressure. So what will then happen is that the demand for forex will be higher than the supply, because one of the major channels of the supply is actually being affected now by what will appear, one will call an unfair tax, because it is not applied to all citizens. It is not applied to everybody in America. It's only applied to certain country citizens, and that makes it very, very unfair in the first instance.
Now, how does Nigeria's reliance on remittances make this tax a bigger problem, especially with our current inflation and poverty issues?
I think, like I explained earlier, if you go around town and take a sample, every family, even if you do not have at the moment, always wish at least one person in that particular family actually resides overseas. And the whole idea is to say, look, the value of the money where you work is able to help us at home. Some will even sell family properties, land and the rest of them, to just mobilize enough to send out one of their persons. And that's to tell you the seriousness to which this part of the world are attached to it. I think apart from South Africa, Nigeria is the second largest in Africa and the first in sub-Saharan Africa that is actually benefiting from diaspora remittances. And these are huge amount of money, in excess of $20 billion. And that's to tell you that people at home actually rely on it. It must also be said that this particular money remitted home, a lot of it goes into real estate, other investments, but more importantly, it is used in actually providing for the needs of their families who are home. And the moment you begin to undermine the free flow of that particular means of funds, you begin to increase the poverty we have on ground, and the already high inflation begins to bite more. And I can tell you that the poverty statistics in Nigeria might go higher than you have at the moment.
So now we can maybe complain about this particular action that the U.S. have taken, and is actually affecting, the diaspora there, sending money back home. What should we do at this point to see that how do I even say, to make up for the shortfall, or I don't know.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a very good question. One ordinarily, first reaction would be, let us give them a retaliation of what they've actually given to us. But that would be another counter actions. If you watch the body language of the U.S. president, that's what he's done with the tariff war, which is actually still going on. I think what we need to do is a series of diplomatic bilaterals, which we have with the U.S. One for me is perhaps, can we have a DTT, that's a double taxation treaty with the U.S. We have with 15 countries, but we do not have with the U.S. What the double taxation treaty does for you is that by the time you send the money you have made overseas home, the tax you have paid in that country where you generated the money is actually taken into consideration when we are taxing you in Nigeria, so that you are not taxed twice. Now, what is happening at the moment is, if you transfer money home, not minding that the country where you've generated that resources, you've been taxed there, if it comes home, Nigeria will tax you again, because we do not have any double taxation treaty with the US. Beyond that is also, so we can actually negotiate to include in the DTT with the US issues covering diaspora remittances taxations, as it were. So if you are taxed there, when it gets home, your tax liability will actually have to take into consideration of the fact that you paid the 3.5%. Beyond that is the fact that, look, it is important for us to begin to discuss, look, this is an unfair tax. because by next year, January as it were, this particular bill, if it's passed by the US Parliament, will actually come into effect. It is important we begin to push and discuss with the US to see, look, don't put it a flat rate, because, I mean, if I'm sending $20,000 home, you're going to tax me 3.5%. The person who sends millions US dollars home, you're still going to tax him, and which is, tax should be fair and equitable. The more you earn, the more you pay. So it is important we negotiate a way such that there must be a threshold. So amount of money, if you are remitting it home, cannot be actually involved in this particular tax. It's important we hold this dialogue with the US government before it passes into law, because the way it is right now, it will not only affect our ability to finance our budget deficit, it will affect the stability of our foreign exchange and liquidity. It will also affect our balance of payment, beyond the fact that it undermines Nigerian capacity to be able to meet up with the sustainable development goal of halving poverty in Nigeria by 2030.
But do you see this somehow discouraging people from the diaspora to send money back home?
It wouldn't discourage them, because there is a need at home. If you understand the point, the necessity for sending the money home, it wouldn't, but then the frequency of sending will reduce. And the other thing is that it will make people to begin to look for alternative channels, informal channels to send their money home. So rather than send it through MoneyGram, send it through Telegram, send it through Western Union.
Okay.
I may look for a relative who is traveling to Nigeria and say, look, this is my $20,000. Please give it to so person when you get home.
But
that money does not follow the official channels.
But you can carry that amount of money on a plane.
Excellent.
That's another thing.
That's why you see, when you're traveling, immigration will ask you how much do you have on you, because there is a limit to the amount of cash you can carry on you. If you carry in excess of it, you run the risk of being accused of illicit financial flow, financing terrorism, anti-money laundering laws, tax evasion, and all the rest of them. So you run those risks when you carry such monies on you. But I mean, bet Nigerians, they will always find a way of actually subverting it, either hiding the money in briefcase or something, but the money must get home. And that's the challenge we'll be having with with this kind of policy that the US government actually want to impose on Nigerians and other countries in the same area.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris Kaka. It's been a pleasure having you in the program.
Thank you for having me in your studio.